everyone. I'm Carrie Thibodeau, the National Director of Programs and Public Policy at the Kidney Foundation of Canada. Welcome to today's webinar, Inspirations from Living Kidney Donors, A Journey of Giving. Before we begin our webinar today, it's important to recognize the Indigenous land that we're on. Inspired by the 94 recommended calls to action made by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, land acknowledgements are a necessary first step toward honoring the original occupants of a place. They also help Canadians to recognize and respect Indigenous peoples' inherent kinship beliefs when it comes to the land, especially since those beliefs were restricted for so long. I acknowledge with gratitude and respect that I'm joining this meeting today from Newmarket, which is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, and the Anishinaabe peoples. If you know the territory from which you're joining today, please do feel free to share it in the chat. I'll now pass things over to my colleague Yash.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yashasvi Kamboj, and I'm the Manager for Patient Services at the Kidney Foundation. And I am situated in BC and Yukon. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all. Before we start, I would like to go over a few items so that you know how to participate in today's event. We are offering this webinar in French and English using simultaneous interpretation. During the session, the speakers will present in English. To hear the presentation in French, click the interpretation icon in the Zoom toolbar, choose French as your language preference. When the interpretation is turned on, the sound will be louder in French and softer in English. If you don't want to hear the English speaker, click Mute Original Audio.
Nous vous proposons ce webinaire dans les deux langues en utilisant la traduction simultanée. Pendant la présentation, les intervenants s'exprimeront en anglais. Pour entendre la présentation en français, choisissez Français dans l'icône d'interprétation de la barre d'outils Zoom. Quand la fonction Interprétation est activée, le son sera plus fort dans la langue interprétée et plus faible dans la langue parlée. Si vous souhaitez ne pas entendre l'orateur original, cliquez sur Mute Original Audio.
You have joined the presentation listening with your computer speaker system by default. All participants enter the webinar with audio muted. If you would prefer to join over the telephone, select the arrow next to the mute, unmute icon on the bottom of your screen in the Zoom toolbar. Select Switch to phone audio, and then select phone call and follow the prompt to dial in. Today's webinar is being recorded. For those of you joining on your computer, you will have the opportunity to submit text questions to the presenters by typing them into the Q&A pane found in the Zoom toolbar at the bottom of the meeting window. Please avoid using the chat box to submit your questions. It helps us to monitor them more effectively when they are all submitted in the questions pane. You may send in your questions in either French or English at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. To protect your privacy, when you ask a question, please do not use your name or provide any other personal identifying information. The Kidney Foundation of Canada would like to thank Otsuka, Amgen, and Accenture, our sponsors for the 2024 webinar series. Their ongoing support allows us to come together to have broader, bolder, and braver conversations. This information shared in today's webinar is current as of today, April 25, 2024. The information shared in this webinar is not intended as a medical advice. The information you'll hear is general in nature and does not necessarily cover all circumstances. When we make every effort to be accurate, we recommend that you seek professional medical advice for your individual situation. Now, before we dive into our speakers' introductions, I want to give you a quick overview of what to expect during our webinar. We have 4 remarkable individuals as panelists with us today, each bringing their unique perspective and experiences as living kidney donors. Firstly, each panelist will introduce themselves. To make this more personal, we have prepared a visual presentation for you. You'll see a slide connect faces with the incredible stories you're about to hear, as these donors have not only transformed the health and well-being of their recipients, but have also experienced significant personal growth in their journeys of their own. After the introductions, we'll transition into a fireside chat where we will delve into the motivations, the challenges, and the transformative experiences that come with being a living kidney donor. Now, without further ado, let's have the pleasure of getting introduced to our incredible panelists. To start the conversation, I would like to introduce our amazing moderator, Terry Ma, who is himself an anonymous kidney donor. Terry, I would open the stage for you to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Josh. Good day, everyone. As the bio says, I'm a management consultant by day, husband, father, and papa to 4 beautiful grandchildren and pet searcher at night. We formed an organization called Roam that helps reunite owners with their missing pets. And I've always had this strong belief that helping others is such a privilege, whether it's donating blood, helping to find lost animals, or even donating a kidney. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Terry. It's now my pleasure to introduce you to our panelists, starting with Marie-Eve Cronin. Marie-Eve Cronin is a healthcare professional who has worked in hospitals for over 15 years. A new manager, she now holds the position of general manager of 2 residences for the elderly in the region of the Eastern Townships. As a mother of 5 and a caregiver, she has long been driven by the desire to help others. In 2018, she donated a kidney to a stranger she met through social networks. Every year since, Marie has been involved in different ways to talk about organ donation, opening up a dialogue and breaking down the barriers. Marie, opening the stage for you to give a little introduction about yourself.
Thank you very much, and hello everyone. It's an honor for me to be with you today. I'm spoiled being with people who are so generous, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. Here you have photos of the story of Jenny and I. It has been published more than 6 years ago. On the left, you see that the day after the surgery, she was unknown to me, but she became almost a twin, a sister. She inspired me a lot. She was sharing her experience on social media, and I quickly decided to help her have a better life, a better health, because I believed I could do it. So when this photo was taken the day after the surgery, we had similar hair, we were like twins, and although we were purely unknown to one another, I mean, we were compatible and we were similar to one another. At the center, you see the photo 1 week after the surgery. So it means a lot to me, this photo. And I was proud to meet with Jenny 1 week after the intervention to share our story. I also received a medal a year and a half after the operation. This is a medal given to living donors because they helped others to regain health. So it was a great ceremony with lots of people from the Health Network, and here in Quebec we have the Sûreté du Québec SQ members, the police force who are escorting the kidneys or the organs. So thank you.
Thanks, Marie. Now moving on to our next panelist, Diana Dunlop. Diana was born in Southwest England and immigrated to Vancouver, Canada in 1975 at the age of 30, where her sister and family lived. She spent the first 10 years there before moving to Regina and then Alberta. Diana had no contact with kidney disease, but had thought about the possibility of donating a kidney while in Alberta. In 2013, she moved back to BC, and about 5 years ago, she had an interview on the radio about a person needing a kidney, and she decided to make inquiries. She was accepted into the program as an anonymous or altruistic donor and donated a kidney about a year ago. Diana, we would love to hear more about.
Hello, my name is Diana. Yes, about a year ago, I donated a kidney that was anonymous or altruistic. I just said I didn't know anyone with kidney disease, but I had a very good friend at that time who needed a lung transplant. And when I heard something on the radio about somebody needing a kidney, I thought it was the right thing to do. I was in my mid-70s. I'd had a really good life and no one depending on me. So I thought, why not? I thought I'd be too old, but I found out there was no age limit on kidney donation. So I began the process and was impressed at how thorough it was. So I felt very confident that at my age wasn't a factor and have recovered well from my donation. It's a lot easier, I can tell you, than recovering from knee replacement surgery. I had one done 16 months ago, and I now have another one done 3 weeks ago, and the kidney was just a breeze. Just got up and walked the next day. Of course, I don't know who received my kidney. I have to wait for them to contact me if they so wish. I just hope that it has helped them in their life. I discovered from my kidney donation what wonderful supportive friends, how quickly they rallied and stopped by freezer for me while I was a little bit under the weather. And my dear friend who drove me back, who's here on the left-hand side, who drove me back from Vancouver to my home 10 days after my surgery and then turned around and drove back. As I say, my life, I emigrated to Canada 45 years ago, first to Vancouver where my sister was. I didn't want to carry on teaching for the rest of my life, so I applied to the RCMP. I was accepted and eventually posted to Alberta for 12 years. I enjoyed the work, even though it was challenging at times, I must say, but I wouldn't have missed the experience for anything. After 2 back surgeries and 12 years in the RCMP, I agreed to taking a medical discharge and return to a much more quiet lifestyle. And then 10 years ago, I moved to British Columbia, back to British Columbia to North Okanagan, where I have been ever since. Horses and riding have always been a huge factor in my life. I've always had a horse until 5 years ago. And after that, my dog Abby and I had to contend ourselves with hiking and walking, which is the photograph, one of the lovely walks on the right-hand side at the top of Enderby Cliffs. And that is probably the end of my story. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Diana. I would now like to introduce you to our another panelist, Bob McRae. In 2010, Bob donated his kidney as an anonymous donor. He retired in 2014 after 35 years in the federal government, and for the past 10 years, he has been a school bus driver. Since his donation, he has been an advocate for living and deceased organ transplantation as a speaker, in person and virtually, and even at events. He also sits on the living kidney donation committees in hospitals. He believes that entering his twilight years, he only has so much time left. But by sharing his experience and being an advocate for organ donation, he hopes to encourage others to think about donation and register as a deceased organ donor, or if possible, to donate as a living donor.
Well, thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, most of us hope to do something big in our lives, to something that'll make a real difference. And I've been volunteering all of my adult life. But in 2009, when the idea of kidney donation came to me, it's not something that I really went looking for. It's something that came to me. As a regular blood donor in 2009, I was waiting to donate blood, and in front of me was a pamphlet, much like this one, that was about living kidney donation. And it told me all the different types of information about kidney donation. But what I found really interesting and what really caught my eye about this pamphlet was all of the people on the front of the pamphlet, many of whom were men, women, old, young, and middle-aged, and older like myself. That's how my kidney donation actually began. So, after considerable research, considerable discussion, and considerable testing, I decided to donate my kidney. I donated it to a person that I didn't know. I've never met the person and I've never heard the person, but I was very pleased to learn that my donation was successful and very likely saved that person's life. I recovered to my full health very quickly, and I'm very happy to say that I've never had any kind of health problem since my donation almost 15 years ago. Being a living kidney donor has been as successful and as fulfilling an experience as any of I have had in my life, including marriage, children, grandchildren, and my career. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to speak to you about it today. with myself, and other stories. And I hope that it'll encourage the people that are listening to investigate living kidney donation and possibly even decide to do it. Je suis bilingue, je parle français et anglais. I speak English and French. If you do have any questions, I'd be very happy to answer them. Again, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Bob. Moving on to our next panelist, Brent Kruger. We're seeing the story on the news. He grew up in a small farming town in Saskatchewan. He's married and has a husky named Smiley, and he loves traveling and food. Brent, opening up the stage to introduce yourself.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be here today to talk about just this amazing thing of organ donation, kidney donation. And I think like when I think about my donation journey, it all started when I saw my recipient's story on Google News when I before I go to sleep every night, I would go to Google News and just kind of scroll through the news that piques my interest. And there was one specific story, and it was of a lady in Saskatoon who needed a kidney, and on the back of her car said, was it like a driving billboard that said, kidney needed, share your spare. It had her blood type and her phone number. And it was, I noticed that her blood type and my blood type matched. And it was almost like a light bulb moment for me to at least give that number a call to see if I could, what the process was to donate. And much to my wife's frustration, I didn't wait to talk it through with her. I brought it up, but kind of behind her back, I phoned the number and got the ball rolling. And then she came to accept my decision and was my biggest cheerleader. And so made the call to my recipient, and she got me connected to the Saskatchewan transplant program in Saskatoon, and got the ball rolling with testing. And 5 months of testing, 50, I think I counted 51 vials of blood that was collected over the course of the 5 months. I got the call on January 25th or 26th that I was approved and a match for Debbie. And you can see the picture on the left-hand side of the screen. There's a t-shirt that I'm holding up, and I'm wearing a different version of it. It says kidney donor because who wouldn't want a piece of this? And it goes with my sense of humor, and my recipient, her shirt says I run on spare parts. And so that just shares our sense of humor. When that picture of us together in the hospital room, I went in there and I had to ask Debbie if someone had come to do her makeup because her skin tone was so different. And it was I'm so honored to have been able to donate my kidney to someone I didn't know and who now is like family. And I just love being able to talk about my journey so that it'll inspire other people to do the same. Thank you.
Thanks, Brent. You indeed have an amazing story to share. Well, thank you to each one of you for those amazing introductions. Your willingness to share your journey is not only inspiring, but also a testament to strength and compassion. Okay, so without further delay, let's dive into the heart of this discussion, the fireside chat. During our fireside chat, we'll cover a range of topics touching on personal journeys, motivations for donation, and also some advice for potential donors. Each speaker will have the opportunity to share their thoughts on these topics, fostering a rich and meaningful, engaging conversation. And our wonderful moderator, Terry, here will be leading this part of the webinar. So Terry, over to you.
Thanks, Yash. So I think this is a super important discussion, and like Brent I'm so honored to be able to be here today and help share our story. So with further ado, I'm going to point the first question to Marie. Marie, What advice would you offer to someone who is considering becoming a living kidney donor, but maybe hesitant or uncertain?
When we start this process, it's something that's very personal. It's a strength we have or don't have. These are values we have or don't have. And the best advice I can give to someone would be to trust oneself and trust the healthcare system, because we know that if it's not good for you, let's say, for example, if it wouldn't have been good for me, if I would have been told it's too dangerous for whatever reason, I would have accepted and I would have trusted what they tell me. You don't limit yourself to what you hear, because sometimes people around you are being confronted to their own difficulties when they see that you're so generous. So they may tell you that it's not a good idea. Is that because you want to get more attention, because you want to become popular? So the idea is to help someone to be altruistic. I mean, someone my age is probably having troubles in life, and myself, I'm still very motivated, and I can give a kidney because it won't compromise my health. So if we believe, if we're strongly believing in what we're doing, we won't be impacted by persons who won't even be able to give a pair of shoes to change someone's life. So I think we need to be motivated by this goal, by this objective. And there are good people in life. You shouldn't see them or perceive them as being extraordinary beings. And when you discuss it, it contaminates others. So don't necessarily look at what's being said, wrong perceptions. I was told, you're crazy. If your kids need a kidney, what will you do? Well, first of all, maybe I'm not even compatible with my own kids. And if one day my kids are sick, there's definitely someone who'll be there to do what I have done, because they admire what I have done. So this is my ultimate goal. And I am considering offering part of my liver to a young girl who needs to be healthy. And there are still people on my way. And I don't have to discuss my goals, my objectives. These are my goals and objectives, and this may lead us to a better world.
Great. Diana, I know that you wanted to share some of your advice on becoming a living kidney donor. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I guess my thought was start the process. It can't hurt if you have any thoughts about you might want to be a donor. Start the process. You're not locked in. You can always turn down your offer to donate. It's not cast in stone, but talk to other donors, find out their experience, and especially if you can, I found it most heartwarming when I spoke to a recipient who I hadn't known a recipient before I donated, but once I met some afterwards, it was really amazing how emotional I found that, you know, how grateful people were who had received a kidney. And I found that I had no concerns with the testing. I think Brent mentioned he'd taken 50 vials of blood. Yes, I think it was a lot of blood I lost as well through this, but they're very, very thorough in screening you. And I know after I had been approved, I was given a really good piece of advice. I was told to take a month and not even think about it and have a cooling off period. And after I came back to it after a month, there was no hesitation on my part. This is what I wanted to do. So just start the journey. There's nothing stopping you. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. And just to reiterate what you just said about just starting the process, I think Bob mentioned it and Brent mentioned about seeing the Facebook. There's something that drives us to make a decision, and it's so personal. But Diana, you're so right. Starting that process, you know, is a great thing. So this next question is for Bob. Bob, you had some initial concerns. What were some of your initial concerns or fears about donating your kidney?
Oh yeah, there were certainly some key concerns. Probably the biggest concern to start off with was, you know, what would the risk be to, as major surgery to my life and to my short and long-term health? So, you know, in 2009, the internet had been around still for a long time. There was at that time, and even more today, so much information available on the internet. And even more so, some very, like some people are concerned that the internet may not be as accurate, as valid as what other people might think. But there's many organizations that have lots and lots of information about living kidney donation, especially the Kidney Foundation of Canada itself. So people start looking, and that's what I did. I spent about a month and a half researching it through organizations, through the internet, and actually talking to people. I didn't at the time to speak to a living kidney donor, but I got lots of information. And, you know, from everything that I looked at, it was amazing to me that living kidney donation is very successful. It's very low risk. And the health problems that happen that are still possible for sure are very minimal. So that was one of the first concerns I had. The second one was, you know, the most important thing to me in my life, and it has been since I married my wife, and 43 years ago, is my wife. And would my wife support me in my decision to donate a kidney? And after doing all the research and thinking that this is something I wanted to do, I sat down with my wife and I talked to her about all of the different information that I have, and how positive that information was, and how reassuring it was, and how low risk it was. And she was behind me, and so that was one of the boxes that I had to check off. Another really major one was I was working full time at the time. I had a full-time job. I was in the federal government. I was a volunteer. I wasn't somebody that was sick that had to be hospitalized out of no choice of my own. Would my employer support me as someone volunteering to need some health care and some time off, both with my time off for leave and for my salary? And almost from day one, and this is the same with not only my employer, the federal government, but almost any good employer, they're going to support a person that chooses to donate their kidney, both for time off and with their salary. And they did so. And they not only did so, they credited me half the time off that I took should anything happen to my health in the future. And I'm really happy to say that I retired 10 years ago with literally hundreds of days of sick leave, so never needed to use those. So those were some of my main concerns. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks, Bob. I think what you're iterating is really making an informed decision, doing the research, right? And talking and being open about it, which is so key to this, right? It's such an important decision. So thanks for your insights, Bob. Brett, we haven't heard from you. So the next question, can you share any memorable moments or interactions with the recipient before or after the donation? Obviously, you can from the pictures, but you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. There was my donation was unique in that I had to, yes, I was donating to a stranger, but I had to make a connection with her at some point during the testing process, just to tell her that I'm in the running to donate. And so when it came time for both our cross-match blood work to be done, the donation coordinator and the transplant coordinator both organized it so that my recipient and I would be testing at the same time on the same day. And so that testing day came, and my wife was there with me. And my recipient, I know her, I know what she looked like because of the news story. And so I see her just fly past me as she's walking by, and I yelled out, "Debbie," and she whips around, and I introduced myself, and the waterworks were on for her and my wife. And it turned out like I'm 6'3", and my recipient is like 5'1", 5'2", so there's an incredible height and size difference there. And so we hugged and got to know each other, and it turned out that there was tons of stuff that we had in common. And her cat's named Hermione, and my wife is a big fan of the Harry Potter books and movies, and so that was one of the connections they had together. And just so many things that we have common ground with. And another experience that we had was So after we met in person for the first time, there was only a month in between when I found out that I was a match and approved to the surgery. And so the weekend before the surgery, my wife and I and Debbie and her husband got together at Old Spaghetti Factory in Saskatoon. And that was my last meal, with my real big meal with my kidney. So we decided to get together for that. And then a year later, to celebrate what we had done the year before, I call it the Kidneyversary. We're going to make it a tradition now to meet at Old Spaghetti Factory in Saskatoon every year now. And I was actually invited to her family reunion in August of 2023. And that was an incredible experience for my wife and I, just to be able to say hi to her family and get the hugs from everybody who were cheering us on. And I feel like family with Debbie now. It's kind of cool.
That's a great story, Brent. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. I think for myself and Bob and Diana, we're anonymous donors. We don't have that memorable moment or interaction with the recipient. But Marie, I don't know, I've kind of put you on the spot here. Did you have anything to share about, any special moments or interactions with the recipient?
Honestly, it was someone I didn't know, but here in the Eastern Townships in Sherbrooke, we're a small network, and a spouse knew my spouse. So it's like we've always been sisters. We were unknown, but we were like sisters at the same time, and we were highly compatible. So she didn't need as many drugs after the operation. So the quality of the kidney was preserved, her life expectancy is even better. So it's very encouraging. This is a great story that lasted long. We shared this story. And this is my greatest gift, to know that with this story, as is the case here today, we're sharing the stories, but there are people close to me who decided to go ahead because they were saying they did it, she did it for an unknown person she's seen on TV. And in spite of the fact that she had many children, it gave people the courage and the strength to do it for their uncle, their brother, their relatives. So it inspired a lot of people. And life, with all those things we hear on TV, war, bad news, etc., we see that life can be great thanks to people like you. And this is my motivation, saying that empathy, altruism is something that can be shared. And it's an honor to be able to share that with you. And after 6 years, I can say that I am fully healthy, my kids are doing well, and I'm enjoying this gift life has given me, that is to be healthy. So we multiply this generosity, and this is my first motivation, and I will stick to that as long as I will live.
Diana, did your experience as a kidney donor change your perspective on organ donation or healthcare in any way? And if it did, how?
Okay. Question 4. Well, I was very impressed. I mean, because I had had no experience with donation of kidney or organ donation. I'd always signed my donor card, but this was I don't know, it blindsided me really how I got there, and all of a sudden I was doing it. But I was very impressed with the care that was taken beforehand, both medically and mentally. They were very careful, I felt, looking into you and checking everything. And I felt when I went in, I must say it was very scary when I was waiting there to go in for the surgery, because I was on my own. I didn't think to have anybody with me. I don't have a significant other or a partner, and I didn't want to bother someone, so I went in on my own. Wouldn't advocate that again. That would be one bit of advice I'd give. Anyway, I digress, Terry. And I was so well taken care of after surgery. I was so impressed compared with my knee and my back surgeries I've had. The kidney was wonderful. He had a lovely bright room, and it was just delightful, and you felt so it appreciated. I think was the word. Not that I did it for the appreciation, but that's what I felt. So I think as Bob mentioned about being concerned with health and things afterwards, it certainly, I have not had any second thoughts about having done it as to how it affected my health. I'm not sure if I've answered your question, Terry. I went a bit around in a roundabout way. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Donna. Bob, I know that you have some insights into this question as well. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I would say that it changed my perspective about living kidney donation as much as confirmed it. Thanks to my experience and through my experience, everything that I learned about living kidney donation before actually deciding to do it and to go through it was confirmed. Living kidney donation is tremendously successful. It's tremendously low risk. And for the most part, there are few and sometimes, like myself, no health consequences whatsoever. Something else that the program Donating a Kidney confirmed was something that when you get into the program that the Living Kidney program tell you is that the donor's health is of the utmost importance. It's number one. And I learned that firsthand myself. So as healthy and as fit as I was at the time of my donation, once I got into the testing that is incredibly thorough just to guarantee the good health of the donor, they found some problems. And so one of them was that I had a kidney stone. And right away they said, I'm sorry, you've got a kidney stone and we've got to look into this further. So your qualification is put on hold right now until we look into this further. So that started. Not too long after, they determined that the kidney stone was nothing. I took some health food supplements that dissolved it in no time, really. So really surprising was they determined that I had some sort of a heart problem. So again, my process to be considered for donation was put on hold, and I was sent to a heart specialist and went through considerable testing with that specialist and consultation, and it was determined that really my possible heart problem related to the fact that I was incredibly healthy and fit during my life, and all of my cardio workouts and that had resulted in me having an enlarged heart that could be a problem for some, but in fact was no problem whatsoever. So it really was something that, confirmed for me that my health was number one, and I wasn't going ahead unless I was in the greatest condition. The only real surprise that maybe changed my view of kidney donation, that changed it with respect to it is even more incredible and powerful than I even thought, was when I became part of something called the Paired Exchange Program. So as an anonymous donor, my donation would not only help one person, but at the time there was potential for 3 other recipient donor operations happening at the same time as mine, thanks to my anonymous donation. And in fact, that's exactly what happened. So that when I donated my kidney at exactly the same time, these hospitals all coordinate things and talk to each other. 3 other operations happened at the same time. So there were 3 other serious kidney donor patients whose lives were improved and saved. So those are the key things that for me were either confirmed or maybe changed in my experience, Terry.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. And from my experience, obviously for the folks here, we're healthy, and like you're saying, Bob, you have to be, your health is paramount, right? They're not going to let you donate if there's any inkling. So I really haven't had any experience with the healthcare per se because of my health, but really I can say that going through the living kidney donation, the surgery, it was fantastic. The healthcare based in BC was phenomenal. And I know that Diana mentioned it as well. And so nothing but good things to say about that. So from my perspective, is really the healthcare system, even though, you know, they get a lot of, you know, bad press sort of thing, but from my perspective, they've been, you know, on their A game. Okay, I think I'm gonna go over to Brent. Brent, reflecting on your journey, what are the most proud or grateful what are you most proud of or grateful as a kidney donor?
Oh man, the list is long. Like we could be here for days for me to just tell you about the things that I'm just blown away by this whole journey. I think the biggest one is, like I said in my introduction, seeing my recipient only 48 hours after the surgery and how different she looked in a much better way. Since the process started, I know the lingo with the kidney health and creatinine and GFR and all that. And at the same time, I asked her if somebody came and did her makeup. She said her creatinine went down from almost 500 down to 60 in 48 hours. And like it's humbling to know that I helped with that. To be able to know that Debbie has many good years to come is incredible to think about. And I always ask her how she's feeling, and she says she's fantastic. And just seeing her live her best life, and it kind of goes in line with what I do at work as an addiction counselor. I help people live their best life, and this is kind of carryover in a big way to help Debbie live her best life. And yeah, I could go on and on, but seeing her thrive is really what it's all about.
Thanks, Brent. I think, you know, for each of us, there are personal kind of, you know, along our journey, certain points of why we're, you know, super proud. Like obviously Brent, you know, meeting the recipient and having that almost like family relationship is such a powerful thing. And same with Marie, you know, knowing recipient. For us, Diana, Bob, and myself who donated anonymously, you know, it's a personal thing for me personally, right? Just knowing that potentially help someone live a better life, I think is a very powerful thing. So thanks for sharing that, Brent. I think we're coming up to time here, Yash, and then wondering if there are any questions for the panel here. And I can't see any, sorry.
Well, I can see the questions on my end, so I can just read them out to you, and then maybe we can direct them to the panelists.
Sure,
okay.
That'd be great, thank you.
So we have the first question here. It's by an anonymous attendee. The question is, can you all share what is your EGFR? If it's low, are you concerned?
Before the surgery, my EGFR was 120, and the day after the surgery, it went down to 60, obviously, because I'm losing half my function. And over, like in Saskatchewan, I get followed up every 6 months for the rest of my life. And so at the 6-month mark, it hadn't really changed much, but there was a moment between 6 months and 9 months that it went from 60 to 75. And from what I'm not, like, my nephrologist is not at all concerned, but he said something really interesting to me, and it really makes me intentional on what I eat. Cholesterol and protein for me, he said, affect the GFR and kidney function. So I'm very aware and intentional on eating the right stuff. And the doctor said I have to have my water bullet attached to my hand to So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. Anybody else want to answer that? Bob, do
Oh,
you?
I can chip in, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So, one of the great things about being a living kidney donor is that they tell you that they're going to follow you with an annual checkup for life. And that has turned out to be true. So each year I go through significant blood and urine tests. And although I'm not as good as Terry, where I really don't know if the numbers are, I don't know the specific numbers. I can tell you that we have a great system here in my region where I can actually see the test results online and the actual evaluation against certain standards. And then I meet with my healthcare specialists, and I know that my creatinine, my EGFR, and a whole ream of other tests that are carried out are all doing really well, and there has never been a concern.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Diana, did you, or Marie?
Yes. I just unmuted very quickly.
Yeah, sure.
I think before I went in, I was at about 80, which they thought was pretty good for my age, because I was 75 then. No, I wasn't. I was 76. It doesn't matter. And then after surgery, I dropped to around 50, and that's where I'm sitting at the moment. But I've been assured that there is no concern about that. And I agree with you, Brent. I'm careful about what I eat. I always have been, and life goes on quite amazingly. Thank you.
Thanks, Diana. Yash, do you want to go to the next question?
Yeah. So the next question is from Milagros Palacios. The question is, how long did it take the process from the first exam to the operation itself?
I can start to answer that one. Mine was a year and a bit in the making. And as Bob kind of mentioned, you need to be in really good shape, right? Health-wise. And they go through all, aspects of it, blood pressure, blood tests, urine tests, ECG, the whole thing. So I actually tested for about a year, just under a year. And then November of last year, I got the phone call saying I was eligible, and I actually had surgery January of this year. So it's about a year for myself. I don't know others who wanted to speak up. Oh, Bob?
Yeah, so I donated in 2010. At the time, there weren't other possibilities of getting tested. It took me from the time I went in the program saying I wanted to donate until I actually made the donation. It took 8 months, and that was with many, many, many tests. But here in my region now, they have developed something that has been tested in other regions of the country where donors can be tested in a very short time frame, actually 1 day, believe it or not, because the testing can be so time intensive and people can't get time off work or travel to, from faraway places for all the tests. They've developed a 1 day or around 1 day program where people can actually be tested, and it can be determined whether they're going to be candidates or not.
Great. Thanks for that, Bob. Brent, did you have any? Do you want to?
From when testing started to the surgery was, I would say, 6 months within 2 days. Like that's pretty much to the day, 6 months.
Okay, thanks, Brent. Marie?
Moi, ça a pris environ 10
It
mois.
took approximately 10 months.
Les premières semaines ont tombé dans
The first weeks were in summertime, so many people were on holidays, so it was a little delayed. And it's a project. When you decide to have a child, you would like to hug him immediately. You wouldn't like to bear that child for 9 months. As soon as I knew I was compatible, I wanted it to happen fast, because if you can do it fast, I mean, that person might save 1 month in dialysis. So I wanted it to be quick, and I felt that the system was there, but everything had to be done in due time. And the receiver was waiting for a deceased donor. She told me she had trouble to accept my offer because she was feeling guilty. She was feeling feeling that she
sentiment ou
was stealing
l'immense
something
pression.
from me.
Donc, c'était
She had
correct que
lots
ça
of
s'étire,
pressure,
c'était
so
correct. Le
it
10
was
mois, là, je
okay
pense que
for that to take
dans
time.
notre
10
cas, c'était
months
bien parce
in our
qu'elle voyait que
case
j'étais encore
was
impliquée,
great
voyant
because
que
she
j'étais
could
encore
see that I
motivée
was
semaine après
still
semaine.
motivated,
Puis,
still
ça
involved
lui a permis, elle,
week after
d'assimiler tout ça,
week,
puis d'accepter
and
à la
it
fin
gave
quand
her
on
the
nous aura informé que
possibility
c'était
to
officiel, qu'on
deal
pouvait
with that.
procéder.
And at the
Je
end,
pense
when
qu'elle
we
était
were
prête,
told
elle
it was
aussi, à dire
official,
oui,
I think
merci, je
she
vais
was
prendre ton
also
cadeau.
ready to
Donc,
say, yes,
dans
thank you,
certaines
I will
circonstances, ça peut
take
être
your
plus
gift.
rapide, des
So
fois
in some
moins.
cases,
Des
it
fois,
might
c'est
be
une question de
faster,
rendez-vous
sometimes
parce que
it's
moi,
not
je
as
sais que
fast,
maintenant, ça se fait
sometimes
peut-être
it's
plus, mais j'ai rencontré
question
un
of
médecin en psychiatrie, j'ai vu
appointments.
beaucoup
I
de
had to
spécialistes. Donc,
see
des
a
fois, peut-être
psychiatrist,
que c'est
lots
plus
of
rapide parce qu'on n'a pas
specialists. I
besoin
know
d'aller
it's
vers
different now
ces entrevues-là,
because you don't
ces
need to
examens-là.
meet with
Mais
so many
en ce qui me
doctors
concerne,
and
c'était pas
undergo
assez
so
vite.
many
Mais
tests.
maintenant, avec
But in
sérénité, 6 ans
my
plus tard, je pense que c'était un bon
opinion, it was
moment
not
de
fast
réflexion
enough.
pour
But
tout le monde,
now,
d'avoir
6
10
years
longs
later,
mois pour
I
attendre
can
avant
say
d'avoir le
that it
dénouement
was a good
officiel.
thing. We had to wait for 10 months
Thanks,
before
Marie.
getting the
Diana,
okay
did
to
you
go.
want to speak up on this?
Lost myself to unmute. Yeah, very quickly, it was exactly 2 years.
Here.
There was no complications except it was finding a match for me, because they did put me into that match. Now I know what you're talking about, Bob, where you trigger so many other donations. And I didn't come up with a match then, and then I had a knee surgery, and they said, reiterating somebody else's thoughts at how careful they were about your health first. And I was told, get your knee fixed, get yourself healthy, and then we'll look at it. So for me, it was exactly, I looked it up, 2 years to the day when I first applied. Yes.
Thanks, Diana. Next question, Yash?
I think Brent's hand is up, so maybe we can
Oh,
quickly.
sorry.
Just to quickly add to that, my recipient was able to bypass the dialysis port surgery because of how quickly things went through the system, and so she didn't even need to even start dialysis before the surgery. So that's another part of the miracle that that this journey was.
Amazing. Amazing.
Okay. So we have the next question here, which has been asked by a couple of people. Tennis Probits. It's the question from Tennis, and he's asking, how long did it take to recover after donating your kidney?
Who would like to take that one on? Or was it pointed to anyone specific, Yash? Or was it open? Just an open
It
question?
was an open question.
Okay.
It's asked by a couple of registrants.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
I can.
Sure. Yeah.
I just it was so quick. Like as I say, I've struggled for 2 months recovering from a knee surgery and 3 months recovering from a back surgery. I came through the kidney, and I was tired. And of course, don't forget, I'm quite a bit older. But I mean, with I got home 2 days afterwards or 3 days, and I was out walking right away. It just took me probably a month or 2 to get my full energy back.
Right.
But,
Right.
you know, I'm somebody who's younger should probably address this. I'll mute now.
Thanks, Dana. Marie, did you have?
Moi, je dirais que ça.
I would say that it was quick. There were life circumstances that made it so that my father died during my recoveries. He was sick, so I had to support that. And my youngest daughter was 1.5 years, so I had 5 children, and my spouse was not or didn't learn to cook that much during the process. So I was a mother of 5, and I had to take care of everything. So we are living in adrenaline. We have the feeling that we have accomplished something. And this is also why you forget about the pain. As Diana was saying, there are surgeries that are much more invasive, much more complex than kidney surgery. And without hesitating, this is the best answer I can give. It's not painful enough, long enough to prevent you from having a chance to do it again. If I had other kidneys, I would do it tomorrow morning. It's like a delivering, or it's like a knee surgery. This is not something that is so impactful that you would not reconsider it. I was in hospital for 3 days. I came back home, and a week later I was doing my errands, and I was working at home, and never considered it as long because I had been told that it's something more difficult for the giver than for the recipient. I was expecting it, but it was very, very reasonable.
Got your hand up?
Yeah, you know, something that was a real benefit to living kidney donation is the fact that the surgery, in most cases, I don't know what percentage, a very high percentage, the surgery is what's called laparoscopic, which is almost like laser surgery. So the recovery time is really quick. The scarring is minimal. Other than some nausea and some pain immediately after the surgery, I was back on my feet and doing everything in a matter of weeks. And the only side effect I have even today, 10 or 12, 15 years later, is my stomach muscles, when I get into really serious athletic type things, do tend to cramp up sometimes. But other than that, the recovery was really quick.
Great. Thanks, Bob. And recognizing the time here, Brent.
Yeah. I'll just be quick here. I was off work for 6 weeks. I could have easily gone back at 4. And interesting that Bob said that about the abdominal muscle thing, because like I've always been curious as to why there's a little spot on my in my abs that tense up a little bit more than other places, and that would explain it. But 4 weeks, I could easily have been back at work, and the fatigue lasted maybe 3 weeks for me.
Thanks, Brent. Yash, I think we're coming to the end here.
We are coming to the end here. Let's just quickly maybe go over this one last question, and then we can open the stage for Carrie for just some last closing remarks. This question is anonymous, and it is by an anonymous attendee, and the question is: for those who worked at the time, how long did you ask for time off at work, and in which capacity did you come back? So maybe
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So my work was very supportive of my decision. They gave me a free week of time off that didn't count to holiday time or sick time. I've been at the organization for 12 years, so I have built up a lot of sick time. So I did that 1 week of free time off, with paid time off, and then the 2 weeks, a week of sick time and a week of my own holiday time. And then the week 4, I was working from home on Zoom for 2 weeks, and then I was back full time at 6.
Great, thanks, Brent. And unfortunately, we're running out of time here, Yash.
Sorry.
yes, we are. So for all the questions, I'm just going to say, for all the questions which hasn't been answered yet, please send it to us by email at kidneyprograms@kidney.ca. It's in the chat for you to see. And over to you, Carrie.
Thanks, Yash. And thank you to all of our panelists today for a very informative and inspiring session. We know that every day people are waiting for a life-saving organ transplant, and your decision to become an organ donor, for those watching, could mean the world to them. Just one organ donor can save up to 8 lives. It's a simple act that holds the power to transform lives and create miracles. So learn more about how to become an organ donor through the link in the chat in general, and consider being a living donor as well. Be sure to select your region to view the link specific to your area. The Kidney Foundation is committed to providing information and educational resources about kidneys and kidney disease. And through our regional branch offices, we offer advice and support about accessing services within the healthcare system and support in your community. We invite you to contact us if you have any further questions. When today's webinar ends, your computer will open a new page requesting that you complete our webinar satisfaction survey. Your feedback is very important to help us continue to improve this series. and we'd appreciate it if you'd take a moment just to complete that. The survey is available in both English and French through a language button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So on behalf of the Kidney Foundation of Canada, thank you everyone for attending today's webinar, Inspirations from Living Kidney Donors, A Journey of Giving. Have a wonderful day.